Oh God, oh God, oh God. Peak TV is becoming peakier TV, and I haven't even had a chance to peek at all the TV yet. 2018 was filled with so many shows, movies, games, and podcasts that I didn't get to experience them all. What to do. I know, I'll just buy a bunch of TVs and turn everything on at once. That way, I get to see it all. Now I have to ask off for work for a few weeks. Actually, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. I guess I could talk about my favorite shows, movies, games, and podcasts right now. Opinion pieces are the rage after all. Look out, world. Here comes Chad White, full of warm opinion juice, ready to hose you down with it right in the face, baby. Oh, I just heard what I said. Please don't tell HR. I can't afford to get another.
It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
I bet if I didn't write an interesting line opener here, no one would notice. Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the list of best things I watched in 2018 that you didn't know about. News Time is in its 4th year, the website in its 5th. One thing has stayed prevalent during my tenure as provocateur. I like to watch stuff and tell people about that stuff. I've seen the majority of the comedy movies most wouldn't touch until they see it has a 90% or above on the tomato meter rating. I've watched full seasons of shows jaded critics called almost a triumph during their initial reviews, although jaded might be overstepping a bit, seeing as how I agree with their thesis. I've listened to literal days worth of podcasts. Days. I can barely swim, but give me a good podcast and whoo boy will I go to town. All of that adds to my credentials of why I'm able to come to you at the very end of every year and give you recommendations on the best pieces of comedic and semi-comedic media you missed over the last 365 days. Real quick, I'm going to read the exact same preamble from last year, mostly because I'm too lazy to rewrite anything else. Here are my 5 favorite 2018 comedy recommendations. It's plus 5 because the list is supposed to be exactly 5 points long, but then I realized I hate lists, and so I add anything I loved and whatever. End of retread. These are my hot picks. I hope you give them a chance. Like last year, let's start with comedy TV. Broadcast saw the addition of Single Parents, The Kids Are Alright, AP Bio, and Splitting Up Together, which were the standouts. They saw a lot more shows, but we're not going to talk about those. But out of those, The Kids Are Alright has proven to be a special show. Another period series for ABC, the show follows a Catholic family in the 70s, sharing in the values that traditional God-fearing people of the era did. However, it's not preachy, nor is it particularly nice. There is a yellow tint to the world, as narrated by show creator Tim Doyle. The cast of 7 kids and 2 adults make the most of their limited locations and solid scripts from names with years of sitcom production under their belts. One thing to note is The Kids Are Alright isn't particularly diverse behind or in front of the camera, yet the work the team manages to do is still good and funny. I guess that's the important thing besides the whole race issue. My runner-up for a favorite broadcast comedy newcomer is Single Parents. Taran Killam leads a fantastic cast in this Elizabeth Merriweather created series about parents trying to do right by their young children. Better yet, the kids get a chance to be in comedic situations, and they're just as funny as the adult counterparts, which is a rarity because children actors are usually horrible. All of this in a TV world where broadcast comedies relied on rehashes. Cable has also slashed the new show department. Only Barry deserves the honor of being mentioned. It's darkly funny with enough twists for hour-long dramas. Bill Hader's wooden performance as the hitman turned actor is stellar. Additionally, the cast is nothing to balk at either. Stephen Root, Henry Winkler, Darcy Carden, Kirby Howell-Baptiste, and Britt-Gibson round out the actors with performances performances that only wannabe actors could understand. The runner-up here is The Last OG. Tracy Morgan and Tiffany Haddish lead the best half hour a Turner network has produced. It's old versus new with a hint of heart. Streaming lessened its comedy show's grasp too, with several shows being axed and newer, higher concept shows getting the push. Surprisingly, Cobra Kai is my favorite of the paltry list of new streaming shows. The Billy Zabka and Ralph Macchio-led YouTube premium series, yeah, I know, delicately balances nostalgia and storytelling in order to make everything work. It's a rough start with a rougher scripting sometimes, add acting, pacing, and tropish nature to the pile as well, but even with all that, from start to finish, Cobra Kai is one of a kind. The new YouTube premium show, again, I'm taking it back to Champaign, Illinois, 2 is unique in its execution. Sam Richardson and Adam Pally are outstanding in their roles as best friends trying to cope after the death of their third money-making rapper friend, played by Jay Farrow, of course. All in all, we saw a slim growth of new comedy shows, whereas a resurgence of revivals was the true calling, especially for broadcast. While Peak TV grew to nearly 500 new original scripted shows this year, comedy kind of stalled. Movies fared a teensy bit better though. Several original ideas were produced, which is great. They were all mostly mid-tier movies, not quite blockbusters, but also not exactly low-budget indies, although a few were indeed indies. Harkening back to this stupid +5 thing, I can only choose one to hold up in the spotlight, but I didn't make up any rule about how many runners-up I can have. Take that, jerk, which is me, I guess. Game Night is one of the many comedy movies I saw alone in a theater on a weekday morning while most of you were most likely at work. It's also one of the few that stuck with me all year long. The gags are good, but mixed with the story elevates them to an entirely new level. I can't believe I'm saying this about a Jason Bateman movie. Everyone did such a good job. What's more is they made it look so easy. Direction from John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein was superb. Mark Perez's script, the same person who wrote Herbie Fully Loaded and The Country Bears, killed, especially in my showing of one audience member. Other comedy movies I enjoyed include Sorry to Bother You and Paddington 2. Finally, we have podcasts. Now, not many comedy podcasts came out in 2018. Also, I wasn't paying that much attention. Still, my favorite has to be Conan O'Brien's Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Any excuse for the iconic late-night host to sit down and talk to someone is the only reason I need to watch, listen, or read anything that he does. Now, here's my favorite part. The last few minutes where I get to go unscripted and talk about a grab bag of shows I couldn't talk about here. Last year, I tried timing it, and it really didn't work out because I'm not good at editing. This year, I'm still going to time it, but with a real clock this time, so I'm giving myself 30 seconds to do this for each of the 5 things. Finally, instead of picking out of a hat, I will make a list, check it twice, and put some numbers on the things, roll a virtual die, and go from there. Again, this is all off the cuff. Ready? Because I'm not. This is crazy, and you can tell I'm improvising this right here. And the first thing is going to be, here we go. All right, it's going to be LA to Vegas. Okay, LA to Vegas is a decent show that came up on Fox. It starred Kim Matula along with a bunch of other people, a bunch of supporting characters that people you really wouldn't know. But it's a very funny show. A lot of tropish things in it as well. But there were things that did stick throughout the year. Very funny show. Probably shouldn't have been on Fox, which is why Fox axed it. I would not blame Fox for axing it, even though they did. Still a good show. Check it out. It's canceled, so watch it. All right, so that was the first one. Moving on, we're going to talk about the next thing. Ready? Here we go. Forever is streaming on Amazon. It's a wonderful limited series starring Fred Armisen and Maya Rudolph. It's a great show talking about what it's like to be in a relationship forever. Don't read anything on it. Just watch the first 3 episodes to really comprehend what the show is, because those 3 episodes really work in concert with each other. Fred Armisen does a wonderful job as the doting husband, and Maya Rudolph does a fantastic job as the wife who kind of maybe wants out of the relationship. Check it out on Amazon. Boom. Oh my God. That was really good. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple of movies now. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Black Klansman, which is directed by Spike Lee. I think he might have written the movie as well. But Black Klansman is a fantastic film that stars Denzel Washington's son, whose name I'm forgetting, John Washington, maybe. That's a boring name, by the way. He stars his son as a cop in a small town, black cop in a small town full of white cops. He infiltrates the KKK based on a true story. Adam Driver plays the cop that infiltrates the KKK. Wonderful, great, check it out. Very funny, very poignant. Boom. All right. That's 3 things. Let's keep going. Let's move on to, let's go to the other comedy movie that I really enjoyed this year besides the other one. Let's go with Tag. Tag is a fantastic film, one of the best movies that come out this year. I don't care what anybody says. There's a lot of great action movements in it, and it's a movie that took a story, an ESPN story, about a bunch of old fat guys playing tag and turned it into a wonderful comedy action adventure movie about a bunch of old guys playing tag. Hannibal Buress, John Hamm, Jeremy Renner, Jake Johnson, everyone does a phenomenal job. I'm forgetting one other person, but that's not the point. All right, Tag is so good, so great, keeps you on your heels. All right, last one. Let's talk about podcast. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Throwing Shade, Deeper Shade of Shade. I suggest you check out this wonderful, wonderful show. The regular show, Throwing Shade, is an Earwolf show. I think it started on Maximum Fun, where the two hosts, Brian Safi and Aaron Gibson, talk about LGBT issues, women issues, a bunch of other issues in the world. And it's very funny, very poignant, very true. But then with this Deeper Shade of Shade show, it's a Stitcher Premium show. You pay $5 to listen to all these shows. Anyway, Deeper Shade of Shade, they talk to somebody and they interview them in a long-form interview. Really good. Boom. And sorry for all the things that I missed in this entire rundown of these shows, movies, and podcasts. I'm going to talk about them, of course, on this week's episode of the Constitutionals podcast, which you can subscribe to on any podcasting platform: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, all of the platforms. All right, definitely check it out. You can watch the video version here on youtube.com/C+comedy. Speaking of things that you should also watch the other videos here, like subscribing. By subscribing and checking out other videos. Of course, you can always head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where we've got some interviews coming out, and as well as the podcast and everything else. You can follow us on Twitter @cpluscomedy. Follow me on Twitter @ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen to the Constitutionals podcast. Follow us on Instagram @cpluscomedy, and be sure to go into the new year rolling with the old things.